The British Isles emerged from the mist of prehistory, rugged coasts and forests shaping early human life. Early Britons survived harsh winters and roaming predators, forging tools, fire, and shelter from raw nature. Celtic tribes shaped the land with rituals, forts, and hilltop settlements, living close to the earth. Roman legions invaded in 43 AD, leaving roads, baths, and a new order across southern Britain. The Romans ruled for centuries, blending local culture with imperial law, cities, and military. After Rome fell, Saxons, Angles, and Jutes arrived, founding kingdoms and shaping English Viking raiders struck from the north, pillaging coasts and establishing settlements. In northern Anglo-Saxon kings battled Vikings, forging alliances, laws, and territories that would define Christianity spread across the Isles, building churches, monasteries, and literacy. Transforming Alfred the Great united southern England, resisting Viking invasions and fostering education. The Norman Conquest in 1066 reshaped England with castles, knights, and feudal governance. Castles spread across England, symbols of power, protection, and the rise of Norman lords. Trade flourished in towns, markets, and ports, connecting England to Europe and beyond. Scotland, Wales, and Ireland maintained distinct cultures while interacting with expanding English power. First British settlers crossed oceans, exploring Ireland, Scotland, and distant islands, building early communities. Medieval kings ruled with knights and councils, forging England's identity amidst war and diplomacy. Magna Carta, signed in 1215, limited royal power and laid foundations for democracy and law. England's population grew, towns flourished, and universities spread knowledge across generations. Exploration began as sailors charted coasts, rivers, and distant islands, dreaming of new lands. Britain's first colonies overseas were tentative, struggling with nature, distance, and unfamiliar climates. England established trade posts in Ireland, Scotland, and eventually the Americas, linking continents. Early British settlers in North America faced hardships, building towns and forging communities. Jamestown and Plymouth became symbols of perseverance, survival, and the beginning of overseas expansion. The British Empire's seeds were sown, driven by trade, faith, and the hope of new worlds. Settlers endured harsh winters, famine, and conflict with indigenous peoples, learning survival in foreign lands. Trade routes expanded with fish, furs, and timber, linking England to the new Atlantic world. British settlers in Ireland, Scotland, and Wales reinforced their presence, creating fortified towns and ports. England united under monarchs, forging identity, culture, and governance across the British Isles. First explorers and settlers crossed oceans, planting the seeds of trade, colonization, and empire. Britain's early settlements faced survival, conflict, and opportunity, setting the stage for a global empire. Britain's sailors crossed the seas, establishing trade posts in India, Africa, and the Caribbean, seeking wealth. The East India Company emerged, controlling trade, armies, and territory across the subcontinent. Britain established colonies in North America, including Jamestown and Massachusetts, planting the seeds of empire. Australian settlement began with penal colonies, rugged landscapes, and determined pioneers facing harsh wilderness. Canada became a British foothold in North America, blending trade, fur, and indigenous relations. The Caribbean supplied sugar and tobacco, fueling Britain's growing wealth and transatlantic commerce. Britain competed with France, Spain, and the Netherlands for global influence and territory. Naval dominance allowed Britain to protect trade routes and expand its reach across oceans. Settlers in India, Africa, and the Americas created enclaves reflecting British law, culture, and architecture. British merchants traded goods, gold, and spices, fueling both domestic prosperity and imperial ambition. The British Navy became the world's most powerful, securing empire and projecting influence globally. Colonists in America expanded inland, facing forests, rivers, and resistance from native tribes. British forts and towns established along coasts and rivers became hubs of trade and control. The East India Company defeated local rulers, expanding influence and creating British-administered territories. Sugar, tea, and textiles enriched Britain while transforming economies across Asia, Africa, and the Caribbean. Settler communities grew, blending British customs with local landscapes and challenges. Britain's Industrial Revolution fueled empire with railways, steamships, and advanced weaponry. Victoria's reign marked a peak of power, wealth, and cultural influence around the globe. Africa and Asia became key resources for Britain, leading to competition, colonization, and conquest. British explorers mapped uncharted lands, bringing knowledge, trade, and sometimes conflict to new territories. Naval battles against France and Spain cemented Britain's supremacy on the seas. Settlements in Canada, Australia, and New Zealand expanded, shaping British identity abroad. Caribbean colonies supplied sugar, rum, and wealth, often through enslaved labor and harsh conditions. India's trade and conquest brought immense wealth and strategic power to the British Crown. Naval supremacy and colonial settlements established Britain as the unrivaled global superpower. Trade, settlements, and military power intertwined to create a vast, interconnected global empire. Cultural influence spread through architecture, education, and governance across continents. The empire's growth sparked tension, resistance, and conflict across regions and cultures. Britain's global reach relied on navy, commerce, and disciplined administration worldwide. Settlements, trade, and conquest set the stage for Britain's peak imperial power in the 19th century. The 18th century brought wars with France, challenging Britain's naval supremacy and colonial dominance across the globe. The American colonies rebelled, sparking revolution and questioning Britain's authority over distant lands. Britain lost the 13 colonies, marking the first significant contraction of its global empire. The Industrial Revolution transformed Britain, fueling industry, cities, and global commerce despite territorial losses. Britain turned attention to India, Australia, Africa, and Asia, expanding influence and consolidating control. The Napoleonic Wars tested Britain's navy, industry, and diplomacy against Europe's greatest empires. Victories at Trafalgar and Waterloo solidified Britain's power and global reputation in the 19th century. Industrial growth fueled migration, expanding ports, cities, and Britain's ability to project power overseas. Britain clashed with India's regional powers, asserting control through battles and treaties. The Sepoy Rebellion of 1857 shook the empire, revealing tensions and local resistance. Britain reorganized India under direct crown rule, centralizing administration and military power. Africa became a focal point of competition, trade, and colonization in the late 19th century. Conflicts arose with local kingdoms and European rivals, testing Britain's military and diplomatic skill. The Boer Wars in South Africa challenged British forces with guerrilla tactics and harsh terrain. Victories expanded British territory but revealed limits and costs of maintaining empire. British influence shaped local governments, law, language, and culture across continents. Industrial power fueled railways, ports, and telegraphs connecting distant colonies to London. Conflicts, uprisings, and political pressure signaled the beginning of empire's gradual decline. Britain's global network remained vast but increasingly expensive to defend and administer. Victorian Britain balanced wealth, industrial power, and diplomacy while facing nationalist movements worldwide. Education, law, and culture spread throughout colonies, leaving lasting legacies in governance and society. Conflicts with France, Germany, and rising powers challenged Britain's supremacy in the 20th century. Britain's participation in World War I strained resources, manpower, and colonial loyalty. The interwar period saw unrest, nationalist movements, and growing calls for independence in colonies. India's independence movement, led by Gandhi, gained momentum, challenging British authority non-violently. Britain's global empire faced crises, revolts, and pressures for self-rule in Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean. Britain adapted governance, granting dominion status and limited autonomy to secure loyalty and stability. World War II further strained empire, exposing vulnerabilities and sparking independence movements worldwide. nationalist movements in India, Africa, and the Caribbean intensified, demanding self-determination and freedom. Britain's conflicts and pressures signaled an end to its unchallenged global dominance, heralding a new world order. After World War II, colonies demanded independence, reshaping global politics and signaling the empire's irreversible decline. India achieved independence in 1947, ending centuries of British rule and inspiring movements worldwide. Pakistan emerged, dividing communities, creating tension, and redrawing borders overnight. African nations gained independence in the 1950s and 60s, ending colonial exploitation and asserting sovereignty. Caribbean islands, Pacific territories, and Middle Eastern regions gradually obtained autonomy, shaping modern nations. Britain's global influence shifted from territorial control to economic, cultural, and diplomatic presence. The Commonwealth formed, connecting nations formerly under British rule through diplomacy and shared heritage. Britain's legal systems, education, and language influenced societies, leaving complex legacies. Conflicts over borders, culture, and resources reflected both colonial impact and struggles for identity. Britain's military continued to intervene globally, balancing legacy with modern diplomacy. Post-colonial challenges shaped nations, blending independence, governance, and inherited systems from empire. Former colonies became economic partners, contributing to Britain's ongoing global role. Britain transitioned from empire to modern nation, balancing history with contemporary challenges. Cultural influence endured globally, literature, sports, law, and language shaping diverse societies. Britain's maritime legacy persisted, connecting nations through trade, diplomacy, and shared naval traditions. Decolonization was not peaceful everywhere. Conflicts arose over borders, resources, and governance. Despite losing territories, Britain's culture, economy, and diplomacy maintained international relevance. Legacy is complicated. Innovation, trade, and governance alongside exploitation, conflict, and oppression. Museums, archives, and literature preserve Britain's empire, teaching history to future generations. The empire shaped global politics, trade, and culture, leaving an enduring footprint on modern nations. Britain's history reminds us that power carries responsibility, influence, and lasting consequences worldwide. Today, former colonies thrive independently, yet traces of British governance and culture remain. Understanding Britain's empire helps comprehend modern geopolitics, global trade, and cultural connections. History reveals lessons in governance, diplomacy, and the delicate balance between power and justice. Britain's influence persists in language, law, and culture, shaping modern global society in subtle ways. Former colonies celebrate independence while acknowledging history, progress, and the empire's complex legacy. Britain transformed from empire to modern nation, balancing history with contemporary global relevance. Remembering the empire's story allows reflection on power, responsibility, and humanity's shared history. The British Empire's story is a tale of ambition, conflict, and enduring influence spanning centuries. Explore history, share knowledge, and understand the past. Like, subscribe to Datewise History and continue the journey with us. Thank you for watching.